Good evening. Close your eyes. Tonight we will journey to a place where time itself has not yet begun. We will listen to the whispers of the very first myths born in a great ancient stillness. In the very, very beginning, there was no land, no air, no water. There were no stars, no sun, no moon. There was only a boundless, dark emptiness that existed before everything else. The ancient Greeks called it chaos. But chaos was not chaos in the way we understand the word. It was not madness, not turmoil, and not destruction. It was the state of a great, formless sleep. And in this void, within this all-encompassing nothingness, lay the seed of all things that ever were and ever would be. And then, from this silence, from this sleep, the first entities began to appear. First, unmoving and eternal, came Gaia, our broad, kind, living earth. She was born from chaos itself, carrying within her limitless power and the promise of life. Following her came Tartarus, the deep, shadowy abyss that stretched beneath the earth. It was a dark mirror of chaos, a place where even light could not penetrate. And third, shining and powerful, came the force of Eros, which means love. This force was not just a feeling, it was the energy that attracts and binds all things, giving birth to the new from the old. Gaia, the Great Mother, was not alone. From her own essence, without outside help, she gave birth to two mighty sons. The first was Uranus, the dome of the starry sky, who stretched out over her to protect and embrace her. The second was Pontus, the mighty, surging sea that would always remain in her arms. So the world received its first form, Earth embraced by the sky above and the sea below. This was the beginning, and from this first union, from this great, quiet harmony, were to come those who would change the world forever.
And so, in this young, shining world that had only just taken form, new creations began to appear. From the union of Gaia and Uranus, of earth and sky, the first generation of great gods was born. These were the Titans. There were 12 of them, massive and mighty, like the forces of nature themselves. 6 sons, Oceanus, the river that encircled the world, Cronus, the god of intellect and wisdom, Creus, the god of constellations, Hyperion, the god of light, Iapetus, the god of fate and the ancestor of man, and Cronus, the youngest but the most cunning. And 6 daughters, Thea, the goddess of shining light, Rhea, the mother of gods, Themis, the goddess of justice, Mnemosyne, the goddess of memory, Phoebe, the goddess of oracles, and Tethys, the goddess of the sea. But Uranus, the lord of the sky, was terrified by the power of his children. He especially feared those who were not like him, the one-eyed Cyclops, who could forge lightning, and the 100-handed giants, who could move mountains. Seized by horror, Uranus imprisoned them deep within Gaea, his own wife, which caused her unbearable pain. Gaea, groaning under the weight of her children, turned to the Titans. She begged them to avenge her. One by one, they turned away from her, fearing their father's might, and only the youngest, Cronus, agreed. He took the sharp flint sickle that Gaea gave him, and he waited. When Uranus once again descended to earth to embrace his wife, Cronus attacked him. From Uranus's blood, which fell upon the earth, were born the Erinyes, the goddesses of vengeance, who would forever pursue murderers and oath-breakers. From the foam that rose on the sea, the beautiful Aphrodite,
Zeus grew into a strong, wise god. He returned, and, with the help of the goddess of wisdom, Metis, he forced Cronus to regurgitate all the children he had swallowed. They emerged from his belly whole and unharmed, filled with rage towards their father. Thus began the Titanomachy, a great war that shook the world to its very foundation. The new generation of gods, led by Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, fought against the Titans, their fathers and uncles. The battle lasted 10 long years, shaking the heavens and the earth. The thunder of the battle echoed throughout the cosmos, and mountains crumbled into dust from the blows. Zeus descended into Tartarus and freed his monstrous uncles, the Cyclopes and the 100-handed. In gratitude, the Cyclopes forged Zeus's most fearsome weapon, the lightning bolts, and for Poseidon, a trident that could cause earthquakes and storms. The 100-handed ones hurled enormous boulders at the Titans as if they were just pebbles. With such powerful weapons and allies, Zeus defeated Cronus. The Titan
On Mount Olympus, high above the clouds, the gods built their new home, with shining halls where feasts were followed by councils. Zeus, the supreme god, was the lord of the heavens, thunder, and lightning. He ruled from a golden throne, but his power was as unpredictable as the weather, and his passions were as turbulent as the storms he sent down. Hera, his sister and wife, was the queen of the gods and the patroness of marriage. But her days were filled with jealousy and rage, for Zeus could not be faithful. His love affairs were countless, and her wrath fell upon his lovers and their children, bringing them endless suffering. Poseidon, the lord of the seas, was known for his wild temper. He could summon a storm with a single strike of his trident, shatter rocks and sink ships. He vied with Athena for patronage over the city of Athens, but lost, as his gift, a saltwater spring, proved less useful than Athena's olive tree. Hades, ruler of the underworld, was stern but just. His kingdom was dark and silent, and he rarely left it. But once he abducted Persephone, the daughter of the goddess of fertility, Demeter. Whenever Persephone descends into Hades, her mother grieves, and winter falls upon the earth. The other Olympians also took their places. Apollo, the god of light, music, and prophecy. Artemis, his twin sister, was the goddess of the hunt and wild nature. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, was born directly from Zeus's head, already grown and in full armor. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, born from the sea foam. Hephaestus, the godsmith, lame but skillful. And finally, Hermes, the messenger of the gods, swift and cunning.
The world was ordered, but no humans yet inhabited it. Prometheus, one of the few titans, molded man from clay, endowing him with reason and the ability to create. Zeus refused to give them fire, seeing them as a threat. But Prometheus secretly ascended Olympus and stole a spark of fire and gave it to humans. For this, he was cruelly punished. Zeus chained him to a rock, where every day an eagle would peck out his liver. In retaliation against humans, Zeus created Pandora, the first woman. She was given a sealed box containing all the ills of the world. When Pandora opened it, all misfortunes flew out, and only hope remained at the bottom. The Greeks believed that humanity went through 5 ages. In the Golden Age, humans lived in peace without worries, and the earth itself provided its fruits. In the Silver Age, they became less wise and more arrogant, and Zeus destroyed them. In the Bronze Age, humans became mighty warriors who lived and died in battle. Then came the Age of Heroes, a time of great deeds and demigods. And now we live in the Iron Age, an age of suffering and toil. Perseus was the son of Zeus and Danae, the princess of Argos. His grandfather, King Acrisius, was foretold that he would be killed by his own grandson. In an attempt to avoid fate, he locked Danae in a bronze tower. But Zeus came to her in the form of golden rain, and they had a son. Fearing the gods' wrath, Acrisius did not kill them, but cast them into the sea in a wooden chest. The chest was washed ashore on the island of Seriphos. When Perseus grew up, he vowed to kill Medusa, a monster whose gaze turned people to stone. The gods came to his aid. Athena gave him a shining shield, and Hermes gave him winged sandals and a sword. With their help, Perseus found the 3 old sisters who shared one eye and one tooth between them. He stole their eye and forced them to show him the way to Medusa. He flew to her when she was sleeping. With the mirror of his shield, he was able to decapitate her without looking at her directly. From her neck sprang the winged horse, Pegasus. On his way back, Perseus rescued Princess Andromeda from a sea monster and married her. The prophecy came true many years later, when Perseus accidentally killed his grandfather Acrisius with a discus at a sports game. Thus, the fate he tried to escape finally caught up with him.
The story of Heracles. Heracles was the greatest of all heroes. His birth was unusual. Zeus took the form of his mother's husband, and from this union Heracles was born. Hera
consumed by jealousy, hated him from birth. She even sent 2 snakes to kill the infant, but he strangled them with his bare hands. When he grew up, Heracles married, but Hera sent a fit of madness upon him, and he killed his family. To atone for his guilt, he had to perform 12 impossible labors. The Nemean lion. Heracles strangled it with his bare hands, as its hide was impenetrable. He took its skin and wore it as armor. The Lernaean hydra. This multi-headed snake would grow 2 new heads for every one he cut off. With the help of his nephew Iolaus, who cauterized the wounds, Heracles was able to defeat it. The Augean stables. He was ordered to clean the enormous stables which had not been cleaned for decades. Heracles diverted the courses of 2 rivers to wash away all the filth in a single day. The Hesperides. He had to obtain the golden apples, which grew in a garden guarded by a dragon. Heracles found the Titan Atlas, who held up the celestial sphere. He took Atlas's burden while the Titan fetched the apples, and then tricked him into taking it back. Cerberus. The most difficult labor was to descend into the realm of the dead and bring back the 3-headed dog, Cerberus. Hades allowed Heracles to take him if he could overcome him with his bare hands, which Heracles did. After his labors, Heracles was free, but Hera still did not leave him alone. In the end, he was poisoned and burned on a pyre, but his immortal part was lifted to Olympus, where he became a god.
The story of Jason and Medea. Jason was the son of a king, but his uncle Peleus took the throne from him. Peleus was foretold that he would be overthrown by a man wearing only 1 sandal. When Jason returned to the palace, he had lost the sandal while crossing a river. Peleus, seeing him, agreed to return the throne, but only if Jason brought him the golden fleece, which was held in far-off Colchis. Jason gathered the greatest heroes, including Heracles, and they set off on the ship Argo. Upon arriving in Colchis, Jason had to perform 3 impossible tasks to obtain the fleece. The king's daughter, the sorceress Medea, fell in love with him and agreed to help him. She gave him an ointment that protected him from the fire-breathing bulls, and she told him how to trick the warriors who sprang from dragons' teeth into fighting each other. She also put the dragon guarding the fleece to sleep. Jason took it and escaped with Medea. But their love was not a happy one. Medea betrayed her father, and Jason later betrayed her, choosing to marry another princess. In her rage, she killed the new bride and their own children, and then fled. Jason was left alone. In the end, he was sitting beneath the wreckage of his old ship Argo, and a beam fell on him, killing him.
The story of the House of Oedipus. One of the most tragic stories is that of a lineage cursed by the gods. King Laius of Thebes was foretold that his own son would kill him and marry his own mother. Laius, trying to avoid this fate, left the infant on a mountain, but the child was saved and named Oedipus. When Oedipus grew up, he learned of the prophecy and, thinking he was adopted, ran away from home. On the road, he accidentally killed a stranger who turned out to be his real father. Upon arriving in Thebes, he solved the riddle of the Sphinx and saved the city. In gratitude, he was made king, and he married the widowed queen, Jocasta, unaware that she was his mother. When the truth was revealed, Jocasta took her own life, and Oedipus blinded himself. He left the city, wandering the world alone. It is a story of how a man, trying to escape his destiny, ultimately fulfills it.
The Trojan War, the beginning and the siege. The culmination of the Age of Heroes was the Trojan War. It began with the Judgment of Paris, where the goddess Aphrodite promised the Trojan prince Paris the love of Helen of Sparta, the most beautiful woman in the world. When Paris took Helen away, it became the cause of a great conflict. 1,000 ships, led by King Agamemnon, set off for Troy to bring her back. The war dragged on for 10 long years. The main heroes were the unbeatable warrior Achilles and the noble Hector, the defender of Troy. When Hector killed Achilles' best friend, Patroclus, Achilles returned to the battlefield in a rage. He killed Hector and, in a fit of grief, dragged his body behind his chariot around the city walls. The Trojan War, the end and the returns. In the end, the cunning Odysseus devised a plan. The Greeks built a huge wooden horse and hid a group of warriors inside. The Trojans, believing it to be a gift to the goddess Athena, wheeled the horse into the city. At night, the Greeks emerged, opened the gates, and Troy was burned. But the war did not bring peace to the victors. Many heroes died on their way home. Agamemnon was murdered by his own wife upon his return, and Odysseus, cursed by Poseidon, spent 10 years wandering the seas, enduring many dangers, before he could finally return home.
The underworld and the twilight of myths. After death, human souls journeyed to Hades, the realm of the dead. The path there led across 5 sacred rivers, including the Styx, the river of hatred, across which the dead were ferried by the old boatman Charon. The gates of the realm were guarded by the 3-headed dog Cerberus. Souls received their just rewards or punishments. The wicked were condemned to eternal torment in Tartarus, where Sisyphus pushed his boulder and Tantalus suffered from eternal thirst. Righteous souls went to the beautiful Elysian fields. But above all the gods and above their will stood a higher power, the Morai, the Fates, who wove the thread of life for everyone. Even Zeus himself was subject to their decisions. Gradually, with the rise of the Roman Empire, Greek gods began to merge with Roman deities. Zeus became Jupiter, Hera, Juno, Poseidon, Neptune. With the advent of Christianity, the ancient temples emptied, but the myths did not vanish. They remained in books, in paintings, and in sculptures. They have stayed with us forever, becoming an eternal reflection of human nature. Conclusion. Farewell. Our long journey comes to a close. The myths haven't disappeared. They have simply grown quieter, waiting for someone to tell them once more. Drift into sleep with these ancient images in your mind. Good night.